If a son or a daughter happens to come on the trip with their dad or mom, they'll let us know either on the trip or after the trip that this was something that dad never, ever talked about. And they open up to them finally. And I think they even personally get a chance to deal with it too.
Welcome to the DMF podcast, where you will find great conversations with interesting people who have been called to serve. We'll meet impactful charities, dive deep into pressing health topics, and learn from servant leaders who are working to see, be, and spread light. At the end of each episode, we hope you're inspired to realize that you have your own unlimited potential to change the world for the better. Join us as we work to create a region of the healthiest, most purpose-driven people on the planet. Welcome back to the DMF podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Isaacson, and thanks for joining me in another conversation as we highlight a charity that is doing important work in our community. Have you ever stopped a veteran to say thank you? Those comments mean so much to them. We all want our veterans to know how much that they are appreciated. And in today's conversation, we will be learning all about an organization that's mission is centered exactly around that, recognizing and appreciating our nation's heroes. Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota takes World War II, Korean War, and Vietnam veterans to visit their respective memorials at the nation's capital at no cost to them. I'm excited to introduce our guest for today's conversation, Tod Ganje. From the very beginning, Tod has been a board member with Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota. This organization has been 100% volunteer ran since its first flight took off back in 2007. And years and numbers of flights later, Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota continues to grow and serve more and more veterans across our region. Since that first flight in 2007, over 2,500 veterans have now flown to visit the memorials that were built in their honor. As a civilian himself, Tod shares that he respects and thanks those who have served our great nation, and he considers himself blessed to work with an organization that gives back to those that gave themselves to protect us all. So whether you're looking to learn more about veterans resources or just hoping for an uplifting message, I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation, so let's get into it. All right, everyone, we have Tod today in the studio. And Tod, I'm so excited to be sitting down with you. Thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you for having us here. It's wonderful. So.
Yes, Veterans Honor Flight is just such a wholesome but powerful organization and mission that you guys have. And I just can't wait to learn more from you. So, I always like to kick it off with asking, why do you do what you do? And why are you passionate about Veterans Honor Flight?
Well, it's something that came to me, which is wonderful as an opportunity. And not being a veteran or having any military background myself, it's definitely a lot of respect that I have for these individuals that either by choice or not by choice served our country and gave of themselves. And I think this is just a wonderful way for our community and us as individuals to give back to them, especially as so many of them probably didn't get a lot of appreciation, whether if it's the time that they were in the service or when they came home, maybe had to forget about a lot of things. So it's just a great way to look back, give them a thank you, and have them something to look forward to. And just starting and to be involved with it, it's been growing, and it's just gives you so much good feeling and hopefully appreciation for those veterans, and they feel that from us and the community.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought up the whole, maybe they didn't get a warm welcome when they came home years ago from whatever war it might have been. Yep. And I know you guys just celebrated your 20th honor flight, and you had 100 vets come back here this May. And I wanted to just ask you, I saw that there was a celebration at the Fargo Dome. Yep. So how does that impact the veterans to get that warm welcome?
Well, that's definitely one of the highlights of the trips. And usually what ends up happening, and it's been good in both cases, is whether if our families and friends meet us at the airport at the end of the time. And what caused this situation is airport in Fargo is going under construction. So a lot limited space now. But Fargo Dome was great to us and said, feel free to use our lobby area. So we were able to fill in with a military band, and besides family and friends being home and the banners and everything like that, just to have that great welcome home celebration. And that's just a good way for us to cap up these trips. Again, a lot of veterans came home to nothing, maybe came home to some hurtful things, or just came home to grab this and go back to work. No time to celebrate anything either. So this is just a really good way to recognize them and get the community involved, and just show that veterans are so important to us all. And it's definitely a highlight for our trip to get them back home and celebrate them.
Yeah, what an emotional experience to just be there supporting the vets as they're coming back and letting them know that we are so proud of you. Mm-hmm. So what an emotional thing. I just get choked up even thinking about it, because I want to be a part of that next time. So for anyone listening that doesn't know about Veterans Honor Flight, can you give just an overview of what your guys' mission is and what you guys exactly do?
Yeah, definitely so. So this stemmed out many years ago. I'll even go back to in the nation how it started. There was a gentleman in North Carolina that was visiting with veterans, and this was the time that the World War II Memorial was being built in Washington, D.C. And he would work with these veterans as a PA and ask them, "Are you going to go see the memorial when it opens?" Yeah, I can't wait to go up see it. And this is just in North Carolina, and he'd see them months later, and it's, "Did you get up to get a chance to see it?" "No, we didn't see it." And so what he did is he was a private pilot and had other friends who were pilots, and they would take veterans in, maybe two at a time, and take them up to Washington, D.C. to see the World War II Memorial. And then there was a gentleman in Ohio that caught on to that as well and started flying them commercially, maybe would get group space on a plane and take them out to Washington, D.C. as well. And so as things grew, and this actually tied in with Tracy Briggs of WWII television and radio at the time, and saw a story about that. And we decided, or actually what happened is, someone from WWII came to me. I work as a travel agent, just saying, "Is there a way that we could put this together?" And I thought, well, we can always do anything. And so great opportunity to be asked to help out with that. And so that's just what it was. It was just a way to show this community appreciation of how we can get our veterans, and at that time it was the World War II veterans, to see the World War II Memorial. And then the whole idea was, we want to do it as a thank you, so we want it to be no cost to them. So with great community support from the TV radio station at the time, and then the veterans organizations at the time, community and everything like that, we raised funds to actually charter a plane to get them out there. And knowing that we were flying from Fargo, North Dakota, it's not a quick trip, so we knew we'd have to stay overnight. We knew we'd have to charter buses, we'd have to have meals, all of those things. So we put that together and have been doing it since almost 2007 now it's been. So.
Wow, and you just had your 20th flight come back, and there's about 100 vets that participate in each flight.
Yes,
and so tell me about the process of how these veterans get plugged in with this, or how do they get approved, or what does that process look like?
So what we've developed now is doing an application program. It used to be a paper application that we'd mail out for them to fill out and send back. Now we actually have it online on our website. But essentially any veteran that's interested in going within our area, that they fill out this application, and then we put them in order of the applications as they're received. We do take wartime as a priority, and we still have in the last year or so had a World War II veteran go, and then we focused on the Korean War after that, and then Vietnam, and that's our main list of veterans that are traveling now, or veterans that served during Vietnam. So it's just as simple as filling out that application, where we just ask for your personal contact information, your history of what you did in the service, and again, as long as you served during those times, it doesn't necessarily matter if you actually served, like in the case of Vietnam, in country, or if you were still at another site in the world or in the United States. If you were serving at that time, you were a veteran of those wars. So just to get in on those applications, and then we just work down the list on that as they come in. Again, taking the priority if someone's from one of the older wars, World War II or Korean War. So.
Okay. How many flights take place throughout the year?
Well, we upped our game this year, and what we've usually been doing about 2 flights a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. Try to stay away from the summer because it's so warm in Washington and humid that time of year. But what we started doing in the last year is we have been doing 2 planes at the same time. So we had 2 that just went out of Grand Forks in April, all on the same day. So that was mission 18 and 19. And then we took a little break and just did 1 plane out of Fargo here the last couple of weeks. So altogether, we're going to plan on doing 2 more in the fall in the same day. So we'll have had 5 flights this year. And again, on average, it's about 100 or a little bit more than 100 veterans per flight. So.
Wow, what an impact.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the experience in DC and these vets getting to see probably for the first time these memorials that were built to honor them. What does that experience look like once you guys get there, and what does that mean to the vets?
You know, it's very special for them. We'll have some that have been out there before, but we have had some veterans that have probably not even stepped on a plane since they came back from their time in the service. So it's a little different experience for all of them, but I think the big part of it is for them to get together, and we sort of treat it like it is a mission and try to get a little military about it. You know, you've got your orders to go on the trip now, and we do some of those type of things using military jargon as we're going along, all that too. So we try to treat it as if it's a mission, but it's a way to celebrate these veterans. So we get them up in the morning, we load the plane, and we usually use a full-size jet, anywhere from 150 to 180 people per plane, and the rest of the group is either medical staff, our volunteers, or helpers, or family members. In some cases, that veterans need a family member that go on the trip. That who else takes up the plane. We get out there by early afternoon, and we have our veterans loaded onto our buses, and we just start motor coaching all around the city. And each time we maybe mix up the order that we do things, but try and get to the important sites, very military focused. So we've tried to do something now that touches the 4 main branches of the military. Technically, we can think that there's 6 branches now when you add in Coast Guard, and now that Space Force will eventually be something that goes on into the future here too. But we try to top those top 4. There's a Navy memorial, there's an Air Force memorial. What you think of that Iwo Jima memorial where they're raising the flag is that Marine memorial. And then there's a new museum of the Army that's fabulous to go to if you haven't been out there in Washington, D.C. area that we've started going to. So we do that. We try to take them to the memorial, of course, then that is of what war that they're from. We visit the World War II memorial still. The Korean Memorial and the Vietnam Wall, which are in the same area over near the Lincoln Memorial, if you're familiar with the Washington, D.C. geography. And then we attend a changing of the guard ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So that's a very moving one. And actually, they're such wonderful hosts to us at that ceremony. They let our veterans come in. Some are wheelchair bound or, in wheelchairs, so they let us push those wheelchairs up right next to where that changing of the guard ceremony is. As well, we now sometimes get a chance to get into the National Archives so the veterans can have one-on-one time with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence.
Wow.
And, whatever little surprises along the way that we come up with on that too. But that's kind of the quick overview of everything that we stop and see, but trying to give these veterans times to celebrate with each other too and spend time with each other. So we do have a banquet or a dinner each night that we're out there. And the idea is, and I think that's the appreciation, is either if it's people that know each other that haven't seen each other in the past, or they can usually just sit down at a table and find out that there's something that they have in common about the services that they have. We've even had people that didn't know they were on the same trip that probably even served together, and this was a reunion that they didn't know that they were going to have too. So those are really the special situations too.
Yeah. So there's got to be so many stories that come out of just all these moments together, honoring these vets, reuniting. Do you have any favorite memories?
I do. And a lot of them are kind of generic ones, but, some too. One that's a specific one that we always go back to that's a fun one is 2 guys, just like I was talking about, sitting together at a table, found out that they were on Navy ships at the same time, and they were both radio callers during a battle and had been talking to each other through this battle over the radio with communications, never knew who each other was, and then got together at this Veterans Honor Flight trip and found out that these two had been talking to each other during this whole couple of days of this battle. Just little reunions like that of people that have served. Some of the more generic ones that I always appreciate, and it happens just about every trip, we can be at a memorial. And there'll be a group of, whether if it's junior high, high school, or college age kids, they'll come up to these veterans and they'll thank them. It's almost like they're rock stars, which is fun. They'll get in line, and it's just people doing it. It's, sometimes you'll have teachers that say, hey, go over there and do that. But it's so, honestly, that it comes to that people will stop our veterans and just say thank you. Appreciate with that. So that's the real fun part about being at the memorials is it's really neat to see the memorials in Washington, D.C., but if you can see the memorial with a veteran or a group of veterans, it's pretty special too, because you're seeing it through their eyes, and it's an experience you probably don't get if you're just vacationer seeing those memorials on your own too.
Remember that Giving Hearts Day is a year-round effort. At the end of the episode, we'd invite you to head to givingheartsday.org to give, find a volunteer opportunity, or donate goods to this charity or one of the other 600 plus important causes throughout our region. And don't forget to mark your calendars for Giving Hearts Day 2026, the region's largest 24-hour give-a-thon. Giving Hearts Day 2026 will be held on Thursday, February 12th. See you then. Yes. Is it ever hard for the vets to maybe go through these memorials?
Yes, definitely so. And we see it more now with the Vietnam Wall, just because that's such a personal experience. There's so many veterans that have names of fellow soldiers, friends, family members that are on that wall. So that gets to be a pretty emotional time. But yeah, we hear a lot of stories too of, if a son or a daughter happens to come on the trip with their dad or mom, and it's probably more times dads than not, is they'll let us know either on the trip or after the trip that this was something that dad never ever talked about. And they open up to them finally. And I think they even personally get a chance to deal with it too. So we do bring counselors along in case that's needed too. But I think the idea of sometimes them just having someone to talk things through, or whether if it's that gives them a chance to reach out to a family member or just reflect. It's, again, not being military myself and not serving during those times. I can't imagine what it was like to go through it and have to go back and either have those memories and deal with them, and whether sometimes if you feel like you have to bury them and go through life and all that too. But what we're hoping this is this gives them a chance to at least maybe remember some of those things, not necessarily have to deal with those, but to at least get some closure on that. And we see that a lot, and we get a lot of thank yous, and that's really what the thank yous are back to us is from them for that. Yeah,
it's very cool to hear what maybe the family is saying about the vet's experience, because you won't hear firsthand from the vet, maybe not all of them, the impact it really had for them, but the family might see that impact. I will admit, though, the veterans are pretty good about reaching out to us and letting us know how they appreciate it. But no, we hear from sons and daughters and grandchildren and brothers and sisters like that all of the time. And sadly and nicely too, the times that we've had veterans that have passed, that we hear from the families or we get letters that this, was the highlight of the closure of their life. We have veterans that have been buried in the jackets that we've given them on the trips. They've dedicated the memorials to us. So again, not to look for that, but the idea is if this gave them something, that's what we really want it to be, is just a way to celebrate these veterans and what they've done, and to have them have this great moment in their life to show that their time in the service was wonderful, well appreciated, and their honors well deserved. Yes. Yeah. Thank you for all that you do, because it's so fun to hear about. So we are recording this during May, which is Military Appreciation Month. Yep. And I wanted to ask you, what does that mean to Veterans Honor Flight? And especially this month, but all months through the year, is we probably couldn't be as strong as we are
and we always need more help, but it's definitely the other veteran organizations besides other type of groups, but there's a real veterans community in our area. And again, I've said I'm not a veteran myself, but from my chance to interact with people at Legion clubs and Honor Guard people and all of these type of volunteer groups that are dedicated to veterans, the VA hospital that we have in town, all of these groups step up to help us, whether if it's trying to do fundraisers financially, to be there to support us on our trips, to give us guidance on what we might need to do administratively, that type of stuff. So it's taught me that there is a good military community in this town, and it's a very welcoming one. So if you're someone like me that doesn't have that military background, and you do appreciate that, they're more than happy to have anybody off the street help out. And we're not just talking Veterans Honor Flight. I'm talking any kind of veterans organization in town. They're wonderful people, and it's a great synergy altogether.
Wonderful. So I know you mentioned that you guys do these honor flights at no cost to the veterans.
Yep.
So what does that look like for you guys with admin and operations? How can people support you guys, or what fundraising efforts are you guys doing for this?
Sure. And first of all, everybody that's part of our board and our volunteer is a 100% volunteer unpaid group. So we have nobody that's making income. We're doing this just out of our respect and honor with that. So we've had to learn a lot and grow a lot on that. We do a lot of our fundraisers ourselves, but what's really helped out, and that's our call out too, is if there's a local group, whether if it's a veterans club, a school, a bank, just a community center in a town, that everything from pancake feeds to spaghetti feeds to bingos to selling flowers, all those type of things, that's what kind of feeds into us. We're lucky enough to have some big things now that help us out. The Fargo Force hockey team and the FM Red Hawks actually dedicate one of the nights of the days to their games for us, where there's a jersey and some fundraising and silent auctions for that. We have some great corporate partners that help us pay for things like the jackets and the hats and the bags and things like that we give away. But yeah, when we're not organizing the honor flight, that's about just as much work as our group is doing, is trying to figure out our next fundraisers and where we can get the funds. We've always used that rough number that it's somewhere between $1,600 to almost $2,000 a person to go on this trip, when you figure out the cost of chartering a plane, chartering buses there, meals while we're there, the cost of the hotels out in Washington, D.C. area and all of that. So it's a big thing. And that's what we do too, is making sure that we're bringing the funds so we can support those next flights down the line.
Yes. Well, again, thank you guys so much for all that you do, because what a fun opportunity for the vets. But it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for people like you and your team that are providing this experience. So for anyone listening that wants to get involved more, is there any opportunities for them to get involved?
Yeah, and our biggest thing is really our fundraisers. I know we have a lot of people that ask, can I go on the trip and help out? Which we have an abundance of people that would want to do that. And it's always tough for us to say no to that, because it's such a wonderful experience. But what we look for people to do is help us out with the fundraising, and especially the ones that dedicate the time for that and to interact with the veterans and those type of things. That's what we really need are the things back here. If someone has creative ideas, whether if it is fundraisers or things that we can do, we have side things that we're doing now too. Like if there's a veteran that maybe has signed up for the trip and not able to go, we're doing a thing that's called a virtual honor flight, where we have the goggles, the Oculus goggles, where you can have the virtual viewings, and we'll go to them and give them their own kind of virtual trip of an honor flight for veterans that have maybe signed up and passed before they had to go on a trip. We do a Flags of Our Heroes program. So, if somebody even has another way to honor veterans or help out veterans that would like to tie in with us, those are the things too. Because again, our main focus is to show these veterans our community's appreciation to them, and we're always open to those kind of ideas that we can need too. But yeah, so fundraising and anybody that wants to step up and help us around here too is a big thing that we would need. So
all right, well, good to know. Well, thank you, Tod, again for just sitting down and highlighting Veterans Honor Flight and sharing more about what you guys do to really just honor the nation's heroes that are in our community. So we wouldn't be following along and supporting you guys if we didn't love you guys. And heck, we love you guys. How can you not love Veterans Honor Flight? So
thanks so very much. And we love everything that your organizations have done for us too. It's one of our biggest days of the year is the Giving Hearts Day. And so we appreciate getting that opportunity to be a part of that. And I would speak for any other charities that are out there. If it's something that you have an opportunity to do, what a great organization, what a well-organized day everything is on that. And we feel so lucky to be a part of that as well.
Yes, we live in such a generous region across northwestern Minnesota and North Dakota. And it's beautiful to see people come together. And a lot of people have a passion for supporting vets. And so that's why anyone listening, if they want to get involved more with Veterans Honor Flight, follow along. I love on your guys' Facebook seeing all the videos and pictures from the trips, or, like you said, like plugging in more and helping serve so that you guys can provide these honor flights. So thank you again for just everything you do, but also just sitting down today and helping us learn more. My pleasure. Thanks for having us. Yes, thanks. I can only imagine the honor it would be to see memorials through a veteran's eyes, to see the name of fellow friends and family members on those memorials and how emotional that would be. Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota and Minnesota is truly giving veterans that time to get together and to celebrate together in a way that they've never been able to do before. It is a chance for them to reflect, remember, and get closure while being surrounded by a support system. They exist to show our veterans that their time in the service is appreciated. I loved hearing Tod share about all the stories that they get from family members who say that their veterans come back after their honor flight and start expressing things from their time in the service that they've never expressed before. A veteran's honor is well deserved. So many of them didn't get a lot of appreciation when they were in service or when they came home. So for veterans to come home from their honor flight with our community there to show our appreciation, it is truly a moment that they will never forget. What a great organization to learn from today. Don't forget that you can check out more at Veterans Honor Flight of ndmn.org or follow their Facebook page to keep up with future events. All right, folks, that's a wrap for us today. Thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll catch you next time on the DMF podcast. And remember, we are called to serve.